David Baye here for MuscularDevelopment.com. We are here in New York, one day out from the 2015 New York Pro. I'm here with Chris Tuttle. Chris, making your pro debut here this weekend. Talk to us a little bit about how you selected the New York Pro as your pro debut. A lot of 212 shows here in 2015. You picked one of the biggest.
Well, I mean, I don't really look at it that way. I mean, I love competing. I'm not a trophy chaser trying to find the lowest tier show to place. No disrespect for people who do that. That's not really what I'm trying to say. But, I mean, it's close to home. It's a great show. It's a good experience. I talked to Evan about it. My friends, my family. It'd be nice to have a lot more of my friends, my family come out and see me compete for the first time as a pro, considering it's about 2 hours from my house. To me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, is it known history to be very competitive? Sure. But, I mean, I want to be a part of something big, and I'm just having a blast. This has been a wonderful experience. I just really can't say enough about this prep to this show versus any other ones I've ever done.
Now, talking about your prep, anybody who's followed your training series online and what you've been doing over the last few years knows that you came in just absolutely crazy conditioning at the North Americans and the Nationals last year, but you did have a difficult time and had to do some crazy stuff to get down to 198. Now, weighing in at 212, you have 14 more pounds of wiggle room there, but you've also been making gains, putting on some weight as a pro. Was it as obviously it's very hard to make 212 for as big as you got in the offseason, but compare, getting down to 212 for your pro debut to making that 198 when you won Nationals and earned your pro card.
Well, Nationals and North Americans, the North Americans I was originally going to be a heavyweight, and at the last minute decided to be light heavy and had to strip a lot of the weight. So this time I knew I had to be 212, and I started dieting around Christmas time, slowly trending down, but I can say that I never had to do anything really drastic or to make weight. I mean, I'm right on the cusp as we speak, just watching my weight every hour, 2 hours, adjusting water and food. I'm working with Chris Aceto, and it's been unbelievable. Such a great learning experience. And basically, if you have a plan, you're going to fail. And and there is no plan. There's always a couple hour plans at a time, but it's been great. This morning I was about 211.8, still eating the same foods, water's cut back a little bit, but just watching the weight kind of slowly just creep into 212 by 5 p.m. tonight and then start filling up. My predictions for myself, overall my waist stayed tight. I made some improvements, especially my back and my triceps. And condition-wise, I'll probably be able to match that condition North Americans with probably definitely more fullness.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that we always see from guys coming into the IFBB, and unfortunately sometimes the guys aren't matching the conditioning that they had at a national level show, because we know once the guys that get into the IFBB, aside from the 212, you don't have to make a weight class anymore, so sometimes the focus on conditioning isn't there. Now, working with Chris, everybody who's heard about Chris Aceto knows that sometimes he's a little bit unconventional in his prep. Can you give us a little bit of insight about maybe some of the things you did with Chris that were different than what you've done in the past?
Check-ins are like 6 times a week sometimes. Pictures, constantly pictures. But basically there is no plan. And I remember what Chris said to me one time. He goes, I'm just letting you know I have no idea what I'm doing. He goes, I have a plan for 24 hours until Tuesday morning. He goes, and that's all I got for you right now. But it's been wonderful. I mean, I've never done a full week of cardio. For Nationals, I was doing 3 hours a day. And it's been an interesting prep. It's been completely different from what I'm ever used to. Learned so much more about way less is way better. Feel healthier, feel all around much better. But most importantly, the learning experience. It was just such a rude awakening and really putting 100% of your trust into somebody. And I told Chris, you're stuck with me for life.
Now, did it take, a lot of the guys, I guess what I was going to go into, did it take away the stress working with Chris? Because I know a lot of guys, the biggest thing with working with a prep coach is, some of these guys know what to do themselves, and I think if they would trust themselves, they could get everything right, nail it. But sometimes people just want somebody to tell them what to do. Now, when you have a coach who's kind of saying, well, we're going to make adjustments, here and there, and as they come, I mean, did that worry you a little bit, or just being with the Aceto in your corner, I mean, was that enough to kind of take those nerves off of maybe doing the prep by yourself?
Well, I prep people myself. I turned 3 people IFBB Pro last year, so I have an understanding of contest prep and preparing people. I have prepped myself before in the past, but the thing is I do understand contest prep. And like when people go, well, what am I going to be doing in a week out from now? Nobody knows. And I understand that. So working with Chris was easy in that sense of I know that we don't know what we're going to be doing on Friday when it's Wednesday. And most people, like, they need to know a plan. Like, what do I need to buy? I don't know. Could change in an hour. Could change tomorrow. You just got to go with the flow. And if you're laid back and you go with the flow and you start to see things come together, you can kind of relax. But I mean, if you're like a real control freak, you know, you might have a mental struggle because, let's be honest, there's so many people genetically who could become a pro and do so well, but so few of them actually have the mind to follow. Just like in any professional sport. You get so many people who genetically have the potential to be there, but they have their head so far in their ass, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. No, we're not head and ass. No, we don't edit that here. So, but yeah, you know, you make a really good point. There are a lot of guys that could be someplace, but it's hard to keep your head on the right track. Sometimes it's hard to stay motivated. Sometimes it's just hard to stick with the diet. But if you can put all that together and combine it with good genetics and a strong work ethic, that's the key. So with all that, we're going to let you get going now. I know you got a lot of stuff to get done today before check-ins tonight, or excuse me, check-ins are tomorrow, but you have weigh-ins 5 o'clock tonight. So he's going to be there at 4:50, weighing in at
212.
Right at 212. All right, guys. 211.9. All right, well, we're going to let Chris get going here. Once again, this is David Baye and IFBB Pro Chris Tuttle making his pro debut here in New York. For MuscularDevelopment.com, we are out.